Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So this is part 15. No, this is 16 actually. But for her, this is 15. Because in the other part, she was showing receipt, but it's our part 15. I know a lot of people want to see the receipts. And she came with receipts. So it made a lot of sense. So let's continue. This is part 16 of the evil mother-in-law saga. If you've not seen the rest of the part, you need to start from part 1 because you need to understand this story. But best believe you're going to get infuriated. Like, let's continue.
Episode 15 of the Mother Gothel series. We had just found out all the lies that Penny had told Vaughn. So about a week later, we actually talked to Vaughn in person, right after he got back from his trip. But something that still bothers me. If someone sits and listens to a person talk about you for hours, then part of them already believes it. And that was a hard realization. After that, I decided something. I wasn't going to keep clearing my name anymore. If someone chooses to believe lies after knowing me for 15 years, then that's their choice. I went back and watched the videos that I took from that day that we confronted Penny because I wanted to be sure I remembered exactly how it happened. When Colton and I confronted Penny, she was sitting about 2 feet away from us, and she looked me dead in the face and denied it. Denied everything. She said she never said anything like that to Vaughn. She said the only reason she called him was to ask him one question. I will circle back to that in a minute. So I said, search his name in your phone. Her phone was already in her hand. She said, fine. I read the call logs out loud. 3 phone calls. 1 was for over an hour, and then the other 2 were 2 hours each. Silence, because she had just been caught lying. And then she tried to pivot. She sighed and said, this fighting just needs to stop. I said, no, you did this. You brought him into this. I asked her directly, what have I ever done to Vaughn that made you feel the need to call him and say those things? She tried to deflect. She said, oh, he talks too much. He changes the subject. He goes on. And I said, you just lied about even speaking to him, to our faces. She said, I didn't remember. I told her, no, you threw a fit about the situation because Colton wasn't on your side and called his father to try and turn him against his own son. She said, I'd never do that. So I asked again very clearly. I said, you didn't call Vaughn to talk badly about me and Colton. She said, I did not call him to trash talk you. So I asked if there were any texts, and she said, we only talked. That's avoiding the question. So I asked again, and she tried to change the subject. Then Colton said, okay, let me see your phone then. She handed it over and said, they're not in there. We looked. Nothing at first. Then I checked the recently deleted folder, and there they were. The messages, the ones she said didn't exist. So I read them out loud, word for word. Silence. Then her story changed again. She said, well, that was the only thing I said. So then I read this second message. And then she said, well, you know how angry I was. Being angry isn't an excuse for lying about your child and his wife. I said, I have never done anything to Vaughn. Why would you say that? Silence. I told her we never called Vaughn. We never called anybody. We didn't run around telling people you're a horrible person and telling them about all the horrible things you've said and done. We said nothing. After that, there wasn't much left to say. What can you say when you just lied to someone's face, deleted the evidence, and then been caught anyway? She called Max, grabbed her things, and walked out. No goodbye to the kids, just left. Colton went outside a few minutes later. He tried to keep things calm after everything. He told her that we were hurt. A lot of things have been said. It's hard to hear in the video because she said it very low. She just said something like, you'll get what you deserve as his son. And that was it. And to be clear, Penny has never had a good relationship with Vaughn. She's never spoken well about him to me. But she knows that for some reason he listens to her, and that's why she called him. Now, the reason she initially gave for calling Vaughn didn't make any sense, so we'll circle back. She said she had an annoying question to ask him. Years ago, Vaughn told me himself that when Penny got pregnant, he wasn't completely sure that Colton was his. Penny had been going out drinking, spending time with different men in a band constantly. After Colton was born, she actually left Vaughn for one of those men. That's not speculation, that's something Vaughn told me directly, and I heard that from someone else too. Years later, I mentioned that to Penny, and honestly, I shouldn't have. I regret saying it. But that conversation happened years ago, not recently. So using that as a reason to call him during all of this didn't add up. And just to be clear, Colton did an ancestry test years ago. He and Vaughn matched completely. Wow. So on September 4th, I had to text her about the storage unit because Colton and I were paying for it. She had said 2 weeks earlier.
That means that for Colton to go and do the paternity test himself, he must have been hearing something too. You guys, Can you guys imagine? For him to be the one to go do it, he must have been hearing things too. He needed to be sure about that. And maybe, just maybe, the mother must have even shown him signs of, part of what he had been through. I'm just imagining what what was the space his head was at when he was going through all that, running paternity tests. Because I know that paternity test doesn't come out immediately. So I'm just imagining all what must have been going on in his head. Wow.
Earlier, it was emptied out. It wasn't. The storage place said it was still full and we were about to be charged again. She ignored my message completely. And then, like a week later, she texted, "How are my grandchildren doing?" And this time, I ignored her. Partly because she ignores me, but also because of something she has done for 11 years. I have mentioned this before. For 11 years, she refuses to use my kid's name. She never says, "How is Everly?" Never, "How is Liam?" Every single time, it's, "How are my grandchildren?" or "How is my son?" Possessive, intentional. And after a decade, it gets old. Eventually, I answered. I reminded her that I had texted her a week earlier and she ignored me, even though I always respond when she needs something. She said she didn't remember getting the text. That turned into another small argument. Then again, she asked, "How are my grandkids?" So I said, "My children are doing fine." That irritated her. She said, "You don't have to say it like that, Kaylin," which is ironic because she's been saying it like that since my daughter was born. So I said, "You don't have to say it like that, Penny, but you do. Their names are Everly and Liam. You refuse to use them, so I won't either." She asked if the kids even cared that she wasn't around. I told her that they were working through a lot of damage. Then she said she might move to Florida. I didn't react because at this point I knew it was just another emotional play. Max was selling the house. They didn't even know where they were going to live. So instead I gave her information for DSS so she could look into housing assistance. But the conversation kept circling back to the same thing, accountability or the lack of it. I told her again, all she had to say was I shouldn't have said those things. They were wrong, but she never could. Instead, it was always, "I don't remember. I can't control my temper. You don't know what I've been through." And then another bomb dropped. During that conversation, I found out something else. She had told Vaughn we were planning a trip to Disney. Colton and I spent a year saving for it. It was a dream trip for our kids and me, and we hadn't told him yet. She did, to hurt us. Vaughn and Colton are very different. Vaughn is very financially focused. Our family prioritizes experiences, which is why we haven't told him yet. And then she said something bizarre. Maybe he'll go with you and pay for it. Which is wild, because this is the same person who told Vaughn that we only care about him because he buys things for the kids. And then I brought up something else. We found out that she said she told Vaughn that Colton and I are basically waiting for him to die so we could inherit money.
Huh?
That is one of the most disgusting things anyone has ever said about us. My husband and I have never had a conversation like that. Vaughn is a person, not a bank account. The fact that she would invent something that cruel and tell his own father that was shocking. It wasn't just a lie. That was her trying to hurt him and damage us at the same time. When I confronted her, first she said Vaughn was lying. Then she admitted she had talked to him again. And just like that, we were right back in it. Deflect, deny, victim, repeat. By this point, it was finally hitting me that she wasn't going to change. That's why we held on for so long, because you keep thinking this time will be different. But nothing I said was ever going to matter. She wasn't going to reflect. She wasn't going to take accountability. Not for her son, not for her grandchildren. You'd think, after all of this, she would have just left us alone. She didn't. There's another big fight coming, and that's the one that finally left us no contact. Episode 15 of The Mother Gothel.
This no contact is something that happened long time ago. But I understand that because of the dynamics of the relationship the son had with her, being that he was groomed as a mommy's boy. That's grooming, if I'm being honest. Mothers are groomed their sons to become mommy's boy. Like they literally groom them, and those boys don't know how to function away from their mothers. Everything their mother says goes. My mommy said, my mom said, my mom said. That's literally what you're hearing around them. Just so sad. Guys, I'm seeing part in this part.